Good evening, Gators. My name is Estelle, and this is Vinyasa Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me this evening and allowing me to lead you through this practice. If you have been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time, again, thank you for trusting me with your practice. So if you were here last week, we did a standing warm-up, which is what we will do again today. We are halfway through Summer B classes, so we just got 2 more of these. So we're going to bring it down to beginner and then a gentle class. So just some housekeeping things. You'll need a mat, towel, carpet, grass, whatever the situation may be. You just want something comfortable where you can put your feet planted on the ground and feel grounded, and then also lay flat on whatever the surface is and be able to completely relax that body. You also might need a block. This can be block, pillow, textbook, anything that is sturdy that can add some height in case you can't reach for the ankles or we're just not feeling it today. Just some things about this yoga class. We'll hold a lot of our poses for some time, so if you're not used to that, don't feel like you have to follow my pace. Feel free to always go into your most comfortable pose, child's pose, mountain pose, downward dog, whatever. And 2 things. Our focus is breathing. Super, super, super important to breathe. Make sure that we are acknowledging our breath, making sure that we're not holding our breath in any of these poses, and then also listening to our bodies. I'm going to do a lot of stuff. If you do not want to do the stuff that I'm doing, don't want to hold it for as long as I'm doing, do not feel like what I'm doing is the end all be all. Please do whatever it is you are comfortable with. With that being said, we will go into our first relaxation. So again, up to you. I'm going to start with a standing warm-up. If you would like to start your first relaxation seated, feel free to do so. If you need, if you're uncomfortable, you can bring your block behind you to raise those hips up, relieve some of that pressure, or you can lay it down completely flat, legs extended, or knees up towards the ceiling. If you are going to follow me, we're going to stand it on up. Feet roughly hip distance apart, palms facing forward, shoulders down and back, eyes closed in our mountain pose. We're taking this time to check in with ourselves. Figure out where our body is today. What aches and pains are we experiencing? Tightness. Figure out what you want to work on today. Check in with yourself mentally. Think about all the things that have been stressing you out, even the things that have been making you happy. Leave all of it at the door. We want to be fully present in this moment, in this time, and open our minds to all the poses we're about to do, the breathing and the mindfulness. Take this time to check in with your grounding foundation, whether that's a mat, carpet, grass, what have you. Understand that this is your foundation. Be comfortable on it. Realize how it feels underneath your feet, your bottom, your back. And try to relax. Taking nice, big, deep breaths in through the nose and either out through the mouth or through the nose. If you notice you're having a hard time focusing or quieting those thoughts, feel free to place one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach, and just focus on the way your chest and tummy rise and fall as you breathe. If you are seated, I want you to take this moment to stand it up and meet us all in mountain. Remember, our feet are hip distance apart, shoulders down and back, palms facing forward. And we are standing at the top of our mat. From here, we're going to move into our moon and sunflowers. So at the tops of our mat, we're going to step back with one foot, bringing both feet away, pointing them away, bringing those heels in about 45 degrees and having our feet wider than hip distance apart. We want to make sure that when we're bringing our hips down to our squat, our knees are not going past those toes and we have enough room to complete our full range of motion. So on our next inhale, we're bringing those arms up, fingers nice and wide apart. Exhaling, leading with those elbows, bringing those elbows into our hips, bringing those hips down, and coming back up. So super important with this, you want to open up that chest, bringing those shoulder blades down and back. Inhaling on the way up, big exhale on the way down. Following our breath, pulling those knees back so they are right over those ankles. Big inhale up, big exhale. Just a few more. Last one. This time around, we're going to transition into our sunflowers. So we're inhaling those arms up, exhaling, bringing those hands to meet each other, palms facing up towards the ceiling, chest up, shoulders down and back, inhaling up. It's the same exact thing with the lower body, foot placement, what we're doing with our knees, what we're doing with our hips, what we're doing with our shoulders. The only thing that is changing is our hands, where they're going. We're bringing them forward as if we're serving something to this great earth. Just a few more. Last one. And just inhale and exhale those arms down. Bringing that foot back up to the top of your mat. I'm going to stay here so you can see me. And we're going to go into our chair flow from here. So we're inhaling up, exhaling, and sitting in our chair. Our feet are roughly hip distance apart. Bringing those hips back, keeping those knees over those ankles, and then coming right back up to mountain. So again, we're inhaling those arms up and coming down into our chair pose. Our hands can be in prayer, or we can extend them in front of us in tree, and standing back up to mountain. And again, inhaling up and exhaling, sitting in our chair pose. Two more. And last one. From here, we're going to inhale up, exhale, forward fold. I'm going to stay here for a bit. Let that head hang heavy. Swing those arms around. Let's do it this way. Swing those arms around, grab onto those elbows. If you would like, get a deeper stretch. Bend those knees, extend them. Just wake that body up. And again, we are at the tops of our mat. From here, we're going to place our hands on our mat and just step back with one foot and then the other in our first downward dog. So from here, you want to make sure that from the top down, our fingers are nice and wide apart. We're feeling each finger in our mat, feeling our palms in our mat, pushing those hips back, bringing that head between those arms. Our hips are up towards the ceiling, and those feet, same exact thing with those hands. We're trying to pull those toes apart, planting them flat on our mats. We're just going to pedal those feet back and forth, waking up the backs of those legs. If you want to do one at a time, for a longer stretch, feel free to do so. Want to extend a leg. Feel free. Bending. Just trying to wake up. And from here, whenever you're ready, just going to drop those knees down to our mat, push those hips back, extending those arms forward into a child's pose. Your thighs can be together or apart. It is up to you and what is most comfortable. This is your rest. And when you're ready on that next inhale, we're going to pull those hips forward so that we are on all fours. So we want those wrists right underneath our shoulders, fingers nice and wide, knees right underneath our hips, hip distance apart, and our toes are going to be flat down on our mat, or I guess our feet. Neck in neutral position, so we're looking at the top of our mat or a little bit above it, so that our neck is in neutral and in line with our spine all the way to our hips. On our next inhale, we're going to go into our cat-cows. So first we're going to go into our cow, lifting that tailbone up towards the ceiling, lifting up that chin up towards the ceiling, dropping that belly button down to our mat. And on that exhale, rounding out that back, tucking that chin into our chest, pushing through the palms of our hands, through our feet, up towards the ceiling, trying to bring our belly button to spine. And again, we're inhaling on that cow, dropping our belly button down to our mat, and exhaling, rounding out that back. Again, very important to follow your own breath here and to not hold your breath in any pose. If you're noticing that with these cat-cows, your breath is very short, run with it. Let your body lead the movement. Just a couple more. And on that last exhale, we're returning to neutral spine, looking down at the top of our mat. Readjusting if necessary. This time around, we're going to tuck those toes under. We're going to go into spinal balance, so we'll be extending opposite arm, opposite leg. With the arm, we're leading with those fingertips, palms facing towards the body. And then opposite foot extends right behind us, flexing those toes, bringing the feet towards our head, leading with the heel. When you return, you can either just come back down to all fours, or you can bring elbow to knee together for some added core work, and we will alternate. So on that inhale, we're extending that arm, extending that leg, leading through the heels and the fingertips, and then coming elbow to knee together or coming down to all fours. Again, following that breath, feel free to pause in between if you need to. Just 3 more on each side. And when we're finished, we can go ahead and rest in child's pose. Just 2 more breaths here. From here, we're going to move into our half series. So a half series moves on each breath. So the movements go very fast, but are controlled solely by you. So we'll do it slow the first 2 times around. So we're all in this child's pose. We're going to inhale those hips forward into a kneeling plank, bringing the chest all the way down to our mat, coming up into a full plank, dropping the knees down, and pushing them back into child's pose. And again, inhaling those hips forward into a kneeling plank, exhaling the chest down, inhaling back up, exhaling, pushing those hips back into child's pose. Just 3 more times at your own pace, following your breath. When you finish that last one, you can go ahead and rest in child's pose. On our next inhale, we're going to bring those hips forward, tuck those toes, and push back into our downward dog. Pedaling those feet if necessary. If you feel like those legs are still not fully awake, those hamstrings are not engaged, feel free to play around in this pose. From here, you can either walk, take one large step with one foot and then the other, jump the feet forward. It is up to you, but we're going to bring our feet to hands to meet in forward fold. And I'm going to shuffle my feet forward. And at the tops of our mat, staying in our forward fold. And inhaling up And coming back to mountain. Staying at the top of your mat, we're going to inhale up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, hands to knees, flat back. Exhale all the way down. Inhale all the way up. Exhaling and sitting in our chair. And relax just 2 more times. Inhaling up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Hands to knees, flat back. Exhale all the way down. Inhaling up. Exhaling and sitting in our chair. And last time, inhaling up. And just reset in mountain. Feet are roughly hip distance apart, palms facing forward, shoulders down and back. Eyes open or closed, it is up to you. From here, we're going to inhale up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. We're going to step back with one foot, then the other, in a downward dog. From here, it does not matter which leg you start with, we're going to drop one knee down to our mat. We're going to try to place this knee right underneath our hips, wrist right underneath shoulder. Then that outside leg, it's going to swing around back. Open up that chest and extend that arm towards the ceiling for a kneeling side plank. If you would like to take this to the next level and do a full plank with both legs fully extended, that is up to you. And we're just going to hold. Big inhale in through the nose and either out through the mouth or nose. Few more breaths here. And on that final exhale, we're bringing that arm from the ceiling down, rotating that chest towards our mat, our grounding foundation, and bringing that leg, swinging it back from around us, and extending the bent leg back into our downward dog. We're going to switch and do the other side. Do not move. I am doing this so you guys can see. So, opposite side. So we're dropping the next leg, bringing that other leg to the outside / behind us, making sure that wrist is underneath that shoulder, opening up that chest, rotating, looking up towards the ceiling, letting our eyes follow letting our gaze follow our fingers. Few more breaths here. And on that final exhale, bringing that arm from the ceiling down, bringing that chest down to our mat, extending that bent leg and pushing back into a downward dog to either shuffle, jump, or take a large step. into a forward fold, and then inhaling up and meeting in our mountain pose. So we are at the top of our mat or grounding foundation in our mountain pose, shoulders down and back, palms facing forward, feet roughly hip distance apart. From here, we're going to inhale up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Hands to knees, flat back. Exhale all the way down. We're going to step back with one leg into a low lunge. Step back with the other into a full plank. Come down to our mat, flipping those feet for upward dog. Coming back down, pushing those hips back into a downward dog. Walking those feet forward in our forward fold. And inhaling up and sitting in our chair pose. And back to mountain. And again, we're inhaling up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Hands to knees, flat back. Exhale all the way down. Stepping back with one foot into a low lunge. Stepping back with the next into a full plank. Coming down to our mat, flipping those feet for an upward dog. Coming back down, tucking those toes for a downward dog. Shuffling those feet up to those hands in a forward fold. Inhaling up and sitting in our chair. Last one here. Inhaling up. Exhale. And back to our mountain pose. From here, we're going to go into lower body. So standing at the top of our mat, we're going to start with the left leg. We're going to step the left leg back, both toes pointed towards the top of our mat. We want to pretend that we're trying to close the gap between our legs. So we're going to activate our quads and hamstrings by trying to pull them together. With our arms, you can either be in prayer or up in tree. We want to make sure that knee is over ankle. You're feeling very stable in this standing lunge. And then arms will do what they will whenever you're ready. We're just going to hold here. Remembering we're activating both sides of those thighs. On our next exhale, we're going to rotate those back toes towards the outside of our mat, bringing that chest to the outside of our mat, bringing those hands down to shoulder length, extending them out, and letting your gaze follow our front arm, gazing beyond those fingertips. You want to make sure that our feet are still in line with each other, ankles in line with knees, in line with hips. As we move through our warrior, you may need a block pillow stabilizing device. So if you do not have one close by, this is now the time to start thinking about it. From here, we're just going to take the giant leap. So we're going to extend that front arm. Extend that front leg. Arms are still fully extended. And all we're doing is raising up our opposite arm and bringing the same arm down to our front leg. You feel free to use a stabilizing device at any height, as long as you are not putting any unnecessary weight on any of your joints, and that whatever pose you're in is not painful. Nothing should feel painful. Want to make sure that we are looking up towards our fingertips, towards the ceiling. Again, being mindful of our body alignment. Where are our hips? Where are our ankles? Where are our knees? From here, we're going to bend that front leg, keeping that arm down by our ankle closer to our mat, and that arm up towards the ceiling, we're just going to bring up overhead. I'm going to keep breathing in through the nose and out through either nose or mouth. Just a few more breaths here. And on that final exhale, bringing that arm from the ceiling down to our mat, coming up in a low lunge. And then we're going to drive that extended leg up towards the top of our mat in our forward fold, bending those knees, inhaling up, and standing in our mountain pose, preparing to do the other side. Taking some time to quiet our breath, regulate it, and whenever you're ready, I'm going to step back with that right leg, both toes pointed towards the tops of our mat, trying to bring our legs together, activate those quads and hamstrings, and whenever you're ready, inhaling those arms up or hands to prayer. And on our next exhale, we're going to rotate those toes towards the outside of our mat, bringing those arms down to shoulder length and keeping our gaze towards our front fingers and chest towards the outside of our mat. Again, checking our body alignment, making sure our hips, ankles, knees are all in line with each other. If you notice your shoulders are getting a little heavier, feel free to bring those arms behind you. Again, prayer is always an option as well. From here, we're going to transition. So we're going to extend that front leg. Arms are still fully extended, and we're just bringing them up and down, staring at those fingertips up towards the ceiling. Take a nice big breath in through the nose and out through the mouth or nose. From here, we're going to bend that front leg, bringing that hand all the way down to our mat, and then bringing that arm up overhead. Just a few more breaths here. And on that final exhale, bringing that arm down to our mats, bringing that chest down to our mat, driving that foot forward into our forward fold, inhaling up, and coming back to our mountain pose. Mountain pose might seem very boring, but it is probably my favorite pose. Forces you to regain your groundingness, your midpoint, forces you to get yourself back down after doing all those movements without having to sit and start over. So make sure that you're taking this time to allow your body to relax, allow your breath to return to normal, but also keep your muscles awake and active. From here, we're going to move to our tree pose. So you can start with whatever leg makes you feel most comfortable. I will start on the left. So grounding foot. Again, try to keep your toes as far apart as possible, making sure that you can feel all points of contact on the ground. Big toe, pinky toe, heel. Opposite foot. Heel comes right above the ankle. Important that we start here to make sure that we are in the correct body alignment before we actually move into the pose. So we want to make sure that our knee is in line with our hips. So we're pulling it back, keeping our hips open. And we want to make sure that we are not grabbing that foot to bring it up our leg. We want to let that foot naturally go up so that it's seamless. Also, we want to make sure that our foot is either on our calf muscle or up here on our quad/hamstring muscle. We do not want it right on our knee bone because that will cause injury. So while you're in your grounded position, whether your hands are in prayer or up in tree, take some moments, few breaths here to feel really balanced, and then whenever you're ready and feel stable, feel free to lift that leg, or I guess drag your leg without your arms, let your leg move on its own up, or I guess your foot move up your grounded leg, and just hold and breathe. If this is way easy, feel free to close your eyes, Losing one of your senses makes everything a little bit harder. Just a few more breaths here. If you fall out of your tree, feel free to get back into it. If you fall out of your tree and know you do not want to get back into it, feel free to just stay in mountain pose. Do whatever feels right for your body. And on that final exhale, releasing that leg, shaking out that grounded foot, and then placing your foot on your ankle whenever you're ready to start the other side. Again, checking your body alignment. Where are your knees? Where are your hips? Where are your ankles? Where's your foot? And as you feel stable, let that foot tell you where it's going to go. Just a few more breaths here. And on that final exhale, release that leg, shake out that grounded foot, and return to our mountain pose. How do I want to do this? So we are at the top of our mat. We are all in our mountain pose. From here, we're going to inhale up, exhale, and a step back with one foot and then the other, and then bring our body down to our mat, stomach facing down. From here, we're going to place one arm. We can start with our left arm. Our left arm is going to be right where our forehead is so that we can bring our head down. I will not because it's going to mess with the mic, but please have your head in contact with your hand. And then with your right arm, you're going to grab your right ankle and stretch out that quad. If you are not feeling a deep enough stretch, you're going to raise that leg if you can for some range of motion, added range of motion. Two more breaths. And release that leg. Switch arms. So right arm and left hand is grabbing left ankle. Just two more breaths. And on that final exhale, release. From here, we're going to flip over onto our backs. We're going to have our feet planted, knees up towards the ceiling. We want our palms facing palms down, facing our grounding foundation, mat, towel, what have you. From here, we're going to lift our hips up towards the ceiling, holding for a moment, and then slowly one vertebrae at a time, bringing the hips back down. So we're exhaling the hips up. Hold for a moment, inhaling one vertebrae at a time, bringing those hips back down to our mat. 4 more, exhaling those hips up. And last one here. And relax. We're going to release those legs. 2 more things we're going to do. So it does not matter what leg you start with. We're just going to raise one leg all the way up to the ceiling. Opposite arm is going to grab the outside of that knee. Same arm is going to extend straight shoulder length out. You're going to bring this knee across the body, getting that spinal twist, and you're going to look behind you towards those fingertips. The straighter the leg is that is going across the body, the more intense your stretch is. And release that arm, bringing that leg back to our mat, extending it along. Next leg comes up towards the ceiling. Opposite arm grabs that knee. Same arm extends shoulder length out. Opposite arm pulls this leg down across the body, and we are looking back towards those fingertips. And on that next exhale, releasing that hand, bringing that leg back to our mat, and bringing those hands to our side. Next, we're going to lift both legs up towards the ceiling, bringing our knees close to our chest for our happy baby. And we can do one of 3 things. We can have our hands on the outside of our legs and pulling the outside of our foot, really grabbing like that pinky area. We can have our hands on the inside, again, grabbing that pinky area, or we could grab our big toes and just pull those knees down to our chest, whatever provides you the deepest stretch. Feel free to rock side to side in your happy baby. Point is to open up those hips, so do whatever you need to. And when you're ready, release. But we're going to plant our feet, have our knees up towards the ceiling. We're going to place our right ankle on our right knee. We're going to use both hands and place them behind that knee, or I guess right above the knee. And we're going to pull this leg into our chest. Not hard. This stretch can get very intense very quickly. So ease your way into it, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just 2 more breaths. And on that final exhale, release that leg and switch. So left ankle over left knee, both hands behind that knee, pulling that leg into your chest. I like to place one hand on the leg that I'm stretching on that knee to really just open up this figure 4. Just 2 more breaths. And on that final exhale, release those legs, extend them along our mats as we move into our final relaxation. So for this, you can do whatever you would like to do. You can be fully extended on your mat, palms down or up. You can have your knees up towards the ceiling, or you can be in seated position. It is up to you. We're going to take this time to close our eyes and let our bodies feel what we just did. Let all of those poses sink in. Acknowledge how you're feeling right now in comparison to how you were feeling at the start of class. And just breathe. If you are laying down at this time, if you want to drop one leg or just roll over entirely, just going to roll over onto our side. If you have a pillow, a blanket, feel free to rest your head on that. If not, you can just use your arm. But you want to have one hand planted on your mat. Whenever you're ready, you're just going to find your way up to seated position. Do not rush this if you are not ready. I want to thank you all for taking my class this evening. I hope you feel rejuvenated. I hope you are ready to take on the rest of this evening and the rest of this week. I hope you feel lighter. I hope you feel a little bit more positive energy has been transmitted into your body virtually, and that you can spread that energy to others. I don't say namaste at the end of my practice because it means hello. And I say have a good day in Hindu, which is Mali Kaludam. Feel free to say whatever closing remarks would make you happy. I will say Mali Kaludam to all of you. So Mali Kaludam. Thank you for taking my class and have a wonderful evening and see you next week. Thanks, Gators.